Welcome to Focal Point, AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Great to have you in the conversation. Number to call if you would like to add your comments to our conversation today, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840 is the number to call, 888-589-8840. You might remember a parable that Jesus told. I'm trying to grab it on the run here. The parable of the hidden treasure. Remember that from Matthew 13. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and covered up. Then in his joy he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. And basically what Jesus is saying is the truth about the kingdom of heaven is like that. It is such a treasure that it's worth everything you have to make sure that you gain possession of that treasure. Interesting story. Maybe you saw this as a couple in California, and they're remaining anonymous for obvious reasons. They went for a walk in their backyard, Northern California, and they found at the base of a tree, in the shadow of an old tree, they found buried treasure. What's called a modern bonanza here on the Blaze. They found a container with 1,427 coins in it, dating from 1847 to 1894, and these coins are worth about $10 million because they are in rare condition, they are in mint condition, and they are gold coins. Now, you look at the face value of these coins, the value only adds up to about $27,000, but some of these coins are so rare and in such mint condition that they could fetch nearly $1 million a piece. Now, if you knew that that property contained that buried treasure, and wouldn't you, and you knew it was worth $10 million, wouldn't you go out and mortgage everything you had to buy that property from the owner so you could get not just the field, but the treasure that it contained? Now, one more thing I want to say before we go to the phones, 888-589-8840 is the number, 888-589-8840. Let's grab a couple of sound bites first. I told you about how the media is out there trying to demonize people in Arizona who were just standing up for religious liberty, just enshrining the First Amendment. Here is Alex Wagner. I think she's on MSNBC. And again, she's surfacing the accusation that I referred to in my column, accusing the people in Arizona of trying to reinstate Jim Crow. And we've been over that in the opening segment. It's exactly the other way around. They are the ones that are trying to separate and segregate Christians from polite society. It's the NFL that is telling Arizona, if you don't get your minds right on religious liberty, you cannot sit at our lunch counter. Here's Alex Wagner.
I think that it's deeply worrisome that this is even something that's being suggested. If you substitute the, sexual orientation for skin color, these are Jim Crow laws. And the idea that they're gaining any currency, you had a segment on Arizona before, is a really disturbing trend in our society, given where we are on the flip side in terms of moving forward with gay marriage.
Moving forward with gay marriage. Oh, again, the tide of history. And again, our responsibility is, as William F. Buckley said, the responsibility of those who know the truth is to stand athwart history and yell stop. And that's our responsibility with the homosexual agenda. It's our responsibility to stand athwart history and yell stop. If you're going to carry out your agenda to normalize sexual deviancy, you're going to have to go through us to get there. Now, here's Brian Williams, NBC, one of the most highly paid news anchors, throwing his 2 bits into the conversation. Clip 5.
It's just one state out of our 50, but tonight what's happening in Arizona is being compared by some to the epic battles this nation has fought over lunch counters, separate drinking fountains, and restrooms. Arizona Republican Governor Jan Brewer tonight faces a hugely controversial decision whether or not to veto a piece of legislation. It would give business owners in Arizona the right to refuse service to gays and lesbians, or for that matter to anyone, based on their own religious beliefs.
So again, there's Brian Williams distorting this, talking about lunch counters and separate drinking fountains when it is Christians who are being ostracized, Christians who are being segregated, Christians who are being hampered in their economic opportunities, their educational opportunities, and encountering social vilification. So again, they've got it just exactly upside down. And again, our responsibility to stand athwart history and yell stop. You know, and Alex Wagner, going back to her statement, she said, if you substitute sexual orientation for skin color, these are Jim Crow laws. And what that reveals is that everything, their entire argument, the entire argument of the homosexual lobby, their entire argument is based on the conceit, the falsehood, the deception that people are born that way. See, if people are not born that way, then the comparison between homosexuality and skin color is absolutely invalid. Even Colin Powell said this back in the day. Look, that's a convenient parallel, but it is invalid because skin color is not something that you can change. But sexual orientation, sexual conduct is obviously something that is fluid. Lesbians or women go in and out of lesbianism all the time. American Psychological Association published a research that was taken over lesbians over a course of 10 years, bisexual women actually, and they changed their orientation 3 times in the space of a decade. Went from being straight to being lesbian to being bisexual, back to being straight. Enormously fluid is the nature of sexual orientation. So people simply are not born that way. There's no gay gene, never been discovered, never will be. Sexual behavior, and this is what Colin Powell's point was, sexual behavior is a matter of choice. So if people are not born this way, if this is indeed sexual conduct as a matter of choice, then their entire argument falls to the ground. Well, let's go to the phones. Let's grab a call from Michael, Austin, Texas. Michael, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Well, Brian, it's been a while since I've asked to board your ship, and I appreciate you taking my call.
Well, you are entirely welcome. When we're done, we'll play a little game of shuffleboard on board the deck.
Man, I tell you, you're killing me. Brian, I'm going to make 3 quick bullet points, and then I'm going to get out of the way so that you can comment on them or whatever, if you don't mind. One, as far as the Arizona thing, the vendors that, and across the country, the vendors that are refusing their services, they're not discriminating against the actual persons or their lifestyle, but only the events. So, I mean, it's to call it discrimination against a person is grossly incorrect. Two,
that's very good. And, you know, it's important to understand we don't discriminate against people. What we're concerned about is behavior and choices that are contrary to the revealed will of God. And we just cannot be a part of things that we know are contrary to the revealed will of God. And that's a matter of behavior. That's not about people. That's about choices and behavior.
Right. And the 2 of the 3 is, you know, the NSL's charter specifically states it doesn't discriminate against religious beliefs. So if they're foolish enough to move their Super Bowl out of Arizona because of this, then the Christian community should boycott the next one just to show we don't appreciate them discriminating against us.
Well, you know, that's a very good point, Michael, because they do say we don't discriminate on the basis of religion, and yet that is exactly what they are supporting in the state of Arizona. They are actively supporting a dynamic that would result in the systematic discrimination against Christians on the basis of their religion. So that would make them hypocrites at minimum, and something even worse than that if you follow it out.
Oh, yeah. And finally, the last one is, you know, as you're aware, Homeland Security is beefing up their ammunition. And then the military doesn't even have enough ammunition for our soldiers to practice with before they go into war zones. So very simply, welcome to Homeland Security, the new SS, and the destruction of the only entity that could that could protect the American people from them, the U.S. military.
All right, Michael, listen, I appreciate that. That's a great call. We've talked about the way the Department of Homeland Security bulking up another 700 million rounds of ammo. They're purchasing 2,700 rounds for every officer. And Michael is exactly right. Military having a hard time providing enough training rounds for those in the service. Let's go to Donald, Austin, Texas. Donald, welcome. What's on your mind, Donald? Welcome.
Hey, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing really good, thank you. Just like your last caller, I'm going to get a little bit more blunt. I don't know about you, but I am sick and tired of this homosexual thing being rammed down my throat. I know what my moral principles are, and anybody in their right mind, and I phrase that, right mind, knows that it's wrong. It's a filthy lifestyle, and if anybody looks any different than that, then they've got something wrong. And then the whole thing about Arizona, man, stand up to them because, they stood up once about the illegal immigration thing. Everybody come down on them. Even singers like Daryl Hall and John Oates was going to boycott doing concerts there and everything, They need to stand by their guns. This, just like I said, this is a filthy lifestyle, and everybody needs to recognize that it's a filthy lifestyle. Thank you.
Okay, Donald, I appreciate that. In the New York, that may sound like strong terminology that it's a filthy lifestyle. The New York City Health Department, they produced an ad, a very blunt and graphic ad. In fact, we played the ad on this program. We actually had to block one of the images from that ad that was put out by the New York City Health Department. It wasn't put out by a conservative group, and it was warning about all of the diseases that are transmitted through male sexual to sexual contact. And one of them, for instance, and I apologize for being blunt, and you might want to shift the station just for a second because this is going to be PG-13 content, anatomically correct, but you may want to protect tender ears from this. This is the New York City Police Department said that homosexuals are at 28 times the risk of getting anal cancer. And that's the image that we had to delete from running that ad on this program. So it's like a cesspool of sexually transmitted diseases. That's why we oppose the normalization of homosexuality. We do not want people to come down with all of these sexually transmitted diseases and lose 8 to 20 years of their lifespan and die lonely. We don't want that for anybody. Focal Point, AF or Talk, back after the news.